The budget discussion for the year 2026 and 27. This is the first reading of ordinance number 18-2026. It is the City of Greer Budget Ordinance Financial Year 2026-2027 and an ordinance relating to the fiscal affairs of the City of Greer, South Carolina, making appropriations therefore, levying taxes, and to provide for an effective date. With that, I sent you an email over the weekend to give you a little bit of an outline of how I wanted to proceed in this to make sure that everybody felt like, if nothing else, that they had been heard. And so what I want to do is to engage in that at this point in time. What I am going to do is ask for, in just a moment, a matter of first reading of the ordinance, a motion and a second on that. That way we will open the floor for discussion after that, and anybody that would like to make a statement or share an opinion in regards to where we are in the process of this, I think it would be appropriate. Then after that, we will engage in the discussion of the ordinance before us, and if there are other offerings that you would like to make, we will take those in the order that they are offered. As you're aware, that will take an amendment to the budget, and so we will have to do that by process as well too. So for the purpose of us beginning discussion this evening on the general budget ordinance, I'll entertain a motion to receive.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
At this point in time, if anyone would like to address council and or those that are in attendance this evening, obviously both, the floor is open for comments or anything that you'd like to add or engage in as we start this process.
Mr. Mayor, I've got two things that that I would like to bring before council, and some of it's philosophical, other is possibly increasing some funding in a few places. But tonight on the way here, I was paying attention to just the sidewalks and storm drain inlets, and we aren't doing as good of a job as we have and as we should maintaining that. So the first thing for council's consideration, and I mentioned this in one of our budget workshops, if we increase the storm water fund by $1, that will increase the revenue to that fund by 52.5, something like, is that right? Is that, yes, 52.5. Now, in the scheme of things, that's not a lot, but then that allows some mechanization or other kind of modernization on how we do things, where we go from maintaining the sidewalks, the curb and gutter, from how many feet we get done into a day, that there's technology out there that we can measure it in miles. And so that enables that. And of course, that would take an amendment, because we would have to vote to increase the stormwater by $1. The other is in the general fund, we have departments that include the police department and I guess the IT. And these items that I have issues about are items where we are spending dollars to collect data unknowingly from folks who drive around our streets or walking on the sidewalks or in the parks. And that's license plate readers, it is facial recognition, things like that. And then also we are upgrading our drone program, which is, that in itself can be an issue with privacy, but it seems like a lot of this technology is, okay, next year we've got to add personnel to operate or run this new technology. So on that particular point, I believe it's imperative that council have a much bigger discussion about the collection of data without folks knowing it, because there's arguments on both sides of it, I understand. And that doesn't mean that we have to amend the budget at this point. But I think before dollars are spent that are directed to those expenditures, council needs to have a discussion on what are we going to do with that data? How are we going to store it? What are our rules and regulations? Are we going to resell that data? And I don't think there's anybody on our staff or sitting at this table that wants to do anything like that. But, you know, you can get some bad characters that can abuse that authority. And then when you talk about the collection of data from cameras and things like that, then the question arises, well, where does it stop? Do we want to be in England where you drive through a speed trap and you receive a speeding ticket in the mail? Or in the outback of Australia where nobody is around and you're speeding and bam, they've got you. They send you a ticket. It also, the point can be made that with the data that you're collecting can be used to create a file, any file, just in case. So I think that definitely needs further discussion by council before we start spending dollars to collect data like that.
Thank you. Others?
One of the items that I brought up last time was concerning our golf fees. And I know the reason of the generation of this request is really due to the fact of our membership fees or membership. The folks on the membership list are just sticking around on the list. And I think we need to adjust those fees to maybe inspire folks to kind of come off the list so other folks can be added to it. And so I've talked with our staff. I think they may not be comfortable implementing this on July 1st, but there is opportunity to at least give notice to these golfers that are on the membership list of a fee change in January or somewhere in the future. So that's one item that I would love to see us take action on. And the other thing is more philosophical, like Jay. You know, going over the past couple of weeks, looked at strategic plans, I've looked at, you know, the budgets, looked at the class and comp study most recently. My concern is really around the class and comp study. I know we have taken an initiative to prioritize our personnel, which I'm 100% support. But some of the things in there we've kind of need to be aware of because there is a budgetary implication. I know we recently, I think on May 30th, we're going to be increasing some salaries and creating some more opportunities within fire and police, which is awesome, and to spread those positions out. But when I look at the numbers comparative to the 2027 budget, right now our personnel costs is going to be pushing right at 68% of the general fund. I know if you look at other surrounding areas, you're around that 50 to 60% mark. And so that's a number that I'm looking at, like, we've got to be cognizant because we're going to be, right now, if you look at the class and comp study, it recommended us putting us at the 50th percentile, hopefully in the future putting us closer in the next maybe 3 to 5 years, pushing us up to the 60th percentile of, which is, the class and comp study was really good. It was really well written. It took surrounding cities like us into effect, also considered the counties. I liked how it talked about the insurance compensation. I know it said we do really well if you're a single payer, but from a family perspective, which that's the rate I pay, it sometimes becomes a struggle with the cost, and that it said there's opportunities for improvement. But I definitely want us to be mindful as we implement the class and comp study from a longevity standpoint. We probably should do a workshop. I would recommend us do some type of workshop just to digest that investment that we're making into our employees and understand budgetarily what that implication is. I know if you're looking at from just a personnel standpoint, and there's interest for us to modify millage and things like that, we really need to have the full story of what that looks like 3, 4, 5 years down the road. Just a couple points in the class and comp study, it talked about how a little over 50%, 56% of our employees are 29 and younger. So that's, let's see, 29, 39 and younger, 39 and younger. That's over half our workforce, and that's going to affect the family aspects because most folks would probably have little children in that range. I know in the next 10 years, it talked about in the class and comp study, about 12% of our force, which is around 40 employees. I know we had one retire tonight, how those folks will be aging out. But I just want to look at it more holistically as we dive into next year's budget and budgets moving forward, that 68% number is I feel like it's kind of high.
It's not sustainable.
Yeah, it's not sustainable. And we know those costs are going to go up every year. We're going to have to spend more money. And so we just need to understand, what do we do about it? I know we want to invest in our employees, but we want to, let's have those intentional conversations of what that really looks like and how much of that investment are we willing to truly make. So that's all I got.
Thank you, sir.
Well, looks like we're making our way up the table, so I'll go now. First of all, I want to say thank you to staff. I know it's been a several month process that you guys have been working on this. I appreciate your efforts as always. I was thinking this is the 7th time that I've been entrusted to be part of the budget process, and I think every year about really what this process boils down to for me as an elected official, as a member of this body, and our residents, our citizens, we are charged to provide certain core services to them, provide them in a quality way, to the level of quality that they deserve and demand, and to do it in a cost-effective way. That conversation every year looks a little bit different, and as our community has changed, our needs have continued to develop, and what our citizens ask us for have continued to, but those core duties, I think, stay the same, and it's helpful for me to remind myself even of what we're trying to accomplish from that high level view. Overall, I'd say I'm very pleased with what's been presented to us. I feel like in many ways, it's been a very restrained budget, and I appreciate that work, the thoughtfulness that's gone into the requests that have been made. I do echo what Mr. Booker has said. I think, that kind of thing we need to take a look at. In various departments in different areas, I actually appreciate the emphasis on different areas of technology and other ways. I think that's important for us to specifically be able to maximize our human capital as we move forward, to make the human capital that we do have that really is a differentiator for us as the city of Greer, the people that provide the services to our citizens. That technology will help us be even more effective and more efficient where our human capital is concerned moving forward. Every year, I think in my, what can we do where the millage is concerned, right? And, obviously that is something that we need to maintain that proper tension. I think not only do we have a responsibility to provide value for what our citizens do pay, but when we can even do that for less to make that happen. And so leveraging different areas of resources at our disposal, even besides property tax, ad valorem tax revenue, is something I always want us to keep at the forefront. A couple years ago, when I supported the millage increase, I very much made it clear at the time I wanted that to be a short-term investment in our community in services, in core services, as well as services and facilities that our community was asking us for. Boy, with all my heart, that was the right investment for us to make, still do. I think we're already seeing the results coming from that. And so in future years, I want us to make sure that we're having those conversations, continuing to have those conversations about how we can make it even more cost effective for our citizens. But for this year, I feel really good about where we are from a health standpoint, from a balance standpoint, and where we're getting revenue to be responsible in paying for the services that we are providing. And so, again, just echoing kind of what you guys have already said, I think, Mr. Arrowood, what you're saying about the different areas of technology and data collection, I do think that's, I'm a very strong believer in individual liberty, liberty and privacy, and that, I think that is something worth talking about. I think I'd love to get more clarification for second reading. I believe there's probably some rules already in place with some of that technology as well, so maybe that can even be clarified very specifically how some of that works for us. But again, I think that will help, if anything, help us in some of the efficiency with the human capital that we have at our disposal. But again, thank you to staff for all your work, and it's an honor to be a part of this process.
Thank you. Others?
I don't think it's any surprise that what my ask is going to be. So, as we continue to grow, I think the value of this mill is going to also continue to grow. And I think we need to be as efficient with our public as we can. And I think we're doing a great job. But with the natural growth of the mill, I think it would be incumbent on us to reduce millage to our taxpayers. There's a lot of good people that work for this city, and I really enjoyed the outcome of the class and comp study. Got a lot of positive feedback from several of our departments. But as I said, the value of our mill is going to continue to grow, and with the last couple upticks in taxes, I think it's incumbent on us to show a reduction, to see where we can squeeze a couple of points out.
Well, I tend to agree with everything that's been said to this point, especially carium. A lot of people will know that that's one of my big horses I like to whip every year, is the percent of the budget that goes to personnel expenses, and 68% is, if that indeed is correct. I haven't figured it on the new one. That's way beyond what it's been in the past. And it has jumped in the last year or two to get to that. 2 years ago, when we went on this journey of increased millage, we were told that when the indication was that revenues were going to allow us to reduce that millage, that we would do that, that the millage, we could count on the millage being an up and down thing. Well, and we started on that journey last year by reducing it to, and my charge to the administrator and all of our department heads would be in the interim to find, it's not a huge amount of money, 2 mills is $650,000 or so, to find your percentage of cutting that 2 mills. Everybody's got a little bit of fluff, a little bit of fat somewhere. In the interim, find your portion of it and cut it out so we can lower it 2 mills for everybody. You can lower the budget amount of dollars. That's not a direct help to any of the citizens. They don't see that. They don't know that. But if their millage comes down, they know that. They see that, and they respond to that.
Well, okay. First, let's see here. In response to surveillance, I'm all in favor of license plate readers. I'm all in favor of drones. I'm all in favor, in buying the cell phone data. That's just, everybody uses it constantly. Unrelated to PD, that's related to knowing, how else do we know, we could say 5,000 people attended the event. That's because somewhere staff bought the data from somebody else. It might have been Greenville County Rec, it might have been whatever, but unless somebody was just swagging a guess from the sky, from upstairs or somewhere, that's where it came from. So that's totally anonymous. That's just marketing is what it is. Anyway, as far as Mr. Burke and personnel, I tend to agree. We got to do some work there. Now, some of it is because, we have added an awful lot of people over the last, few years. And we've got, tonight, I don't have the number we're adding in this budget.
20,
How many?
is it 22?
22? Okay. So that would put our 6-year growth at 99 according to the chart I got here. That's probably not sustainable either. And now I'll say that, and there are some departments here that need some significant increases. And that probably means somebody might have to lose something. But I guess we're going to fight that battle next year. I do want to, we were given a huge amount of information. So obviously there was a huge amount of work put into all that. So I thank you very much. I mean, they're telling how many thousand man hours have been devoted to this budget process. Not just what was presented to us, but it's got to be way up there. So I do appreciate all that. And I do know that there was an awful lot of back and forth to get to what you all presented to us. It was not, instantly produced. So I do definitely appreciate that. And I guess that's where I stand. Thank you.
Well, I certainly appreciate all the comments and look forward to our discussion as we move forward this evening. I wanted to share a quote with you tonight. I found this pretty interesting. We haven't grown as fast as some cities, but we have had good, sound, healthy growth. Selfishly, some want Greer to stay the same, but you better want it to grow. The small town feeling is a good feeling. And we've kept that feeling because even though new people are moving here, the old people are deciding to stay. Mayor Worth Barnett. 1976. Mayor Barnett's quote reminded me that some things never change. And that includes that our sole function is providing service. And our sole purpose is to provide a high quality of life for our citizens and our visitors. And so, with all due respect to those that would like to see our millage and taxes decreased, I've struggled mightily over the last several weeks with what we should do to adjust taxes while keeping our ability to offer our core services high. If the reason for lowering the millage is philosophical, and we have heard that tonight, that taxes are inherently either bad or simply too high, how do we determine what amount is reasonable? If 111 is too high, is 109 too high? Is 107 too high? What is too high? The truth of the matter is that we could shift a number of funds into fees with actual escalation clauses triggered every year and reduce millage to less than 100 if we wanted to. The problem then becomes what's too low and what's too high. As good as it sounds, it's inherently unfair to our elderly population, those that live in low income and small households. If our argument is that if 111 is too high, money-wise, then why lower the millage just 2 mills? Median house in Greer now is over $300,000, and to lower millage 2 mills from 111 to 109 represents a cost savings of roughly $50 a year. That's $4 a month. A gallon of gas, $50 a year, a meal for a family of 4. Now, I'm not discounting the fact that for many in our community, it's much more than that. It doesn't discount the fact that saving money is of value, and $50 is $50 to a lot of people. Or to discount the cumulative effect, which we multiply by 16,000 households or 3,000 businesses. But I would rather pay the $50 if it means purchasing land for a park in District 6, designing a bridge in District 2, building a park in District 5, etc. I'll close with this. Our staff and administrator have spent months on this budget. And I don't pretend to know the thinking behind every request in this budget. But I do know that every department head and our administrator, and I am confident that this is a good budget. I also realize that council is tasked with approving the budget, and while I don't condone rubber stamping the requests, I also lean to and respect the professional opinion of our staff. For those reasons that I've stated and others, I will be supporting on first reading the budget as presented this evening. With that, the floor is open, council.
I think one of the issues that I have with budgeting, and this is me from the time I ran for city council and a long time ago, it's always been about planning. And I agree that about our staff, that they are the experts of running their departments. But I believe I think one of our functions is to say these are the priorities for our city, and not just to have the administrator or department heads trying to listen to us a couple of times a month and figure out what we're trying to accomplish. I think it would be better that we sit down as a council and come up with what we believe are our priorities. Instead of, well, I think that's proper. That way, it makes Mr. Merriman's job easier. It makes all of the department, anybody who's involved in creating a budget, it makes life simpler, because then they know how, or they have a good sense of direction as to how we need to spend our dollars and spend them wisely. Now, that and it doesn't just, we just don't do that. They just don't take that knowledge and apply it to next year. But more than likely, our priorities are not just going to be 12 months. Our priorities are probably going to run, way on down the road. Well, if we agree on 4 or 5 priorities, it doesn't bind any other council to anything, because any plan can be changed at any time. But it does give us a good focus, and it gives us a focus. Well, Department A knows that council wants to do A, but it's going to be a multiple year project. So year 1, we budget X. Year 2, we budget X times 2, whatever, to get us to that end point. And then as far as council goes, it gives us the ability to say, we are here at this one point in time. We want to go down the road and be at this point at a certain point in time. Because we all know good opportunities come along each and every day. And do we take advantage of that opportunity because it gets us down to point B? Or does it take us off on a tangent that puts point B further down the road? And that helps us in our decision-making process. I think that would be very helpful for us as we move forward. I guess everybody has issues with the budget, and as we should do exactly what we've done this year. And I think we always have. We always go through it and make sure we understand it, and then move forward. I'm right now. Well, I guess, Mayor, you mentioned you planned on voting affirmative on this first reading, and I am too. But on the second reading, I would definitely like the things that I brought up to be discussed in bringing forth an amendment and having other discussions about the philosophical things I've brought up.
That was actually one of the things that I wrote down here from your first comment on. It was a little surprising to me that the sweeper truck didn't have a dedicated route where we can consistently have that service applied. It was kind of he does what he does and he's good at it. When I think about taxes, I'm very conservative, so there we go. I always like to compare our rates to other rates, and it gets very complicated. And fact of the matter is, though, we've had some significant increases, and this was before I came to council. So what I've been told is that there was a plan to increase and then to roll those back. What we saw on was it the 7th was our first budget, was that we do have a fairly large overage on our reserves. Much more than the, what was it?
650?
650 or, well, it'd be 750. What's the value of the mill? 323? Yeah, 323. So $650,000 is not a hard ask, I don't believe. And I don't think even we have to necessarily even amend the budget to do that. So I'd like to push for some reductions to our taxpayers, show the public that we are working in good faith to go back to the levels that we were.
Unfortunately, on that last comment you made, the levels that we were, as long as I have been a part of the city, going back many years, Greer has always had a reputation, because we rely on the millage, of having the highest number of meals.
Yeah.
Public associates that with the highest taxes. It is not, and so I think one of the things, and I'm not a believer in just tax, but I think when you are doing something because of perception, you probably won't come out with the correct answer. You probably need to make sure that it's backed up with fact. Not saying that you don't have the facts, because I know how you tear through stuff, but I don't know that the rewards that we may try to glean from reducing millage will be the rewards we are necessarily looking for. And that's just me. I mean, it's, the budget is what the budget is, and we've got, once we pass this budget, we just start on the next one. I mean, that's just the way we have to do, and we have to work. And, it sounds like that our staff is going to be, our compensation package, we want to have to look at all of that, but that's coming up.
We saw that when we were getting presentations, right? So the reason why the mill is more valuable in Greenville is because the home value is more valuable.
Yes.
And the reason why I don't live in an $800,000 home is because I can't afford an $800,000 home. So millage is based on a percentage of home value, which
Sure.
is essentially based on what people can afford, because I don't live in $1 million home, because I can't afford it. So that's what I look at. And you're right. I mean, I'd love to reduce it 14 mills right now, but I'm not going to get that wish. I'm going to hopefully get my 2 and keep on asking for 2 next year.
I mean, as you should. You and I have talked a lot, is you've got to represent your folks and the city, and, I think we all do a good job of that. We may not, well, and I don't think we all should ever agree on everything all the time. So I think we have a lot of good minds up here, and we'll make it work.
Not to be trite, I wish we could reduce it to 0, right? But
Oh, yeah.
I think that's the whole point, is this process isn't about wishes. I wish we could provide all the services that we do, core as well as non-core, to our residents for nothing, but that's the tension that is ours to navigate in this whole process on a year in, year out basis, is making sure we are being very careful The millage is by far the most significant, not just philosophically, but in practice. It is the most important, most sobering responsibility that we have, that decision. And so I'm with you. You and I have had a lot of good discussions too, and I think we look at things pretty similarly. That, a lot of what you said is the reason why I supported a good faith reduction last year, immediately after we had the increase that way. The reason why I feel good about where we are this year, and I'm content to ride at least one more year where we are, is just because of the transition we do have and some of the things that we are looking to implement for our citizens that are coming online, that are already looking to pay dividends, where the Sports and Events Center is on, that's projecting better than we would have ever guessed. I think we're going to have a whole lot clearer picture this time next year of some of the alternate sources of resources that we envisioned 2 years ago when we did make this decision to make a big investment in our community. But again, I don't say what I said tritely about. I think we all know, it takes money to provide the services that our citizens need and demand and deserve. But yeah, I think we all are feeling this tension appropriately, and I think that is ours to feel on a year in, year out basis. And I'll be right there with you this time next year,
Yeah.
working to reduce whenever it is prudent.
Yeah, well, I'm just gonna make one more point here. If we had 22 more employees, 68% of their general fund currently is salaries, so not gonna help that number.
Depends on revenue. Depends on revenue.
Well, there you
If
go.
revenue jumps, that's how we lowered it a couple of years ago, to a lower percentage. Wasn't because we had lower income levels, we had higher revenue.
Yeah, well, you have growth, natural growth of the mill. We have tax increases. We had reevaluation. Those are all positives.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure about the reevaluation being positive. That kind of kicked us this last time.
Well,
Well, one of the things we've got to consider and be careful about, and I know reducing millage, and let's be clear, millage is the only thing that we can control in that tax formalization. Everything else is set by the state, so the millage is the only thing that we can control. I think, to Jay's point, one of the reasons that we have been such a stickler about using millage as opposed to fees and other ways of collecting money is that it's the truest representation of a fair taxation system. And when you start fooling around with using non-recurring funds to make up deficits or to add to the budget, or we start looking at increasing fees as a way of propping up the budget, we've got to be careful in that regard, because to your point just a minute ago, there are cities right in our immediate area that have much, much lower millage rates. But if you look at their fee structures, some of them are almost exorbitant. And some of them even have built-in adjustments so that they go up 2% every year just as part of their structure. And so I think we've got to be careful and we've got to be mindful, to Charles' point, is that, we can only afford the house that we can afford. But we've got to be careful, because shifting things around sometimes may add relief But we've got to be careful who that affects in the long run, because there are people in our community, and there are people that work for us, and there are services that we provide. I think it's kind of interesting where we keep talking about lowering millage and lowering taxes as a way of raising the value of the mill. Well, it certainly does, because that's going to draw more and more growth while we're talking about lowering the number of employees we have. So I'm not clear on how that's going to work. If our goal is to keep growing at a 5 to 7% rate every year or more, how we're going to lower our expectation of how many employees that we're going to need to provide the services that we do now. So it's sort of like tuning up an engine. I mean, you just don't adjust one screw without adjusting 3 or 4 or 5 others to make it run good. So we've got to be careful about how we proceed in terms of what we do or we don't do to make sure that we've got a balanced budget that we can live with.
I would say I'm 100% in agreement. I'm against fees, because fees, my district, it really wouldn't matter. But there's plenty of the city that we'd be shifting a burden to people that we shouldn't be shifting it to. So I'm with you against fees. If we just be straightforward with the millage, and we just, it's just a much more upfront approach. But I don't know anybody's really pushed fees tonight.
No, I mean, the stormwater fee is what it is.
That's the feds.
But if we raise it $1 and, we make enough money on that first year to buy, $53,000 truck,
Well, anyway, but yes, yeah. Right.
that's good and dandy, but who's going to drive it?
That's not the.
And I know it's not the point, but.
That's not the point. The point is, if you are going to invest in something like that, it's got to show that it reduce. The reason we aren't doing some of the stuff we're doing now is because we don't have the total man hours. We've already said we've got a huge amount of labor burden, and we always will, because that's what we do. We provide service. But I think the me asking about this $1 increase is solely to give the flexibility to the department head to figure out what they can do. Because 52,000 in the scheme of things is not a whole lot, but what do we have that we can either add to or we can add new to our department that will free up more man hours or labor hours, so we can take those freed up hours and do the things we're only doing on a sporadic basis. That's my reason. Now, and I will say this, it is funny for me to think back on some stuff. And when was it, 2009 that we increased taxes? That was right after, or was it 2010? But, that was a tough, difficult time for us to do that, because the economy had tanked and, people didn't have a whole lot of money, but we had to do it because we went through the exercise. These are the services that we believe that we provide, and that we want to continue to provide. And if we're going to do that, it costs. And those costs never go down. Those costs will continue to go up just because of inflation. And I remember I think I got maybe 1 or 2 telephone calls about that millage increase. And it was a lady, she was elderly, and she said she was on fixed income and she didn't like it and she didn't understand. I said, well, if you got about 20 minutes, I'm going to try to explain it to you. And as I went through step by step, I said, we looked at actually eliminating certain departments. Let's eliminate recreation. She said, yes, that's good. I said, well, you know all those parks where we cut the grass and keep it clean? And, oh, yeah, you gotta keep maintaining that. She said, well, I said, we looked at administration. And if you wiped it out, that's great. It might balance the budget, but nobody could pay the bills or receive the income that's coming in. And I said, then you got police and fire. Oh, no, you can't cut police and fire. I said, so now you understand. And she said, yes, but I don't like it. I said, you and I are in agreement. And so I think that kind of goes hand in hand with we have to sit down and lay out that roadmap for the city.
Well, I would remind council as well too, and I wasn't on council when this took place, but my predecessor said growth will eventually solve all your problems, but he also had to raise millage 18 mills before he left office. So we need to be cognizant of that as well, too.
Yeah, I know we've been talking about the millage discussion. I know last year when we lowered mills, it's a little different dynamic because I think we had a 7% increase in our revenues. Or this year, I think is that correct? About 7% from last year to this year.
8.1.
Well, it was more. I think this year we're like 3%, something to that effect. So, yeah, but if you look at the details, and I kind of dived into just the labor costs, the millage is our only stable source of revenue. The millage is our only stable source of revenue. About $41.5 million is what we're spending on employees. Well, if you look at the numbers of what that equates to from a property tax perspective, take out business license fees, everything else, just the stable millage recoverable money is around $48 million. And so, the math doesn't math quickly if you got to increase police potentially in the next few years. You've got a class and comp study coming up. I'm for the philosophically, how do we reduce the pie? But I think millage is an area that we really need to look hard at because, the implications, because once you take 600,000 out, that's next year, the year after that, the year after that. So I'm a little more hesitant when it comes to the millage discussion, especially when you just look at the hard and fast numbers. It's not, there's not a lot of benefit other than saying that we reduced it, but did we put a burden in the future? So that's why I say having these workshops around our labor force, what we're paying out, really plotting this thing out, what does it look like from a budget perspective of the revenues we take in, is going to be very beneficial, at least for me, moving forward. But as presented, I'm fully supportive of the budget, except for adjusting those fees for sure.
I wouldn't argue the point. I think if you dig into that study, what we've got, 30% of our workforce is over 50 and will be eligible to retire in the next 10 years. We could be losing a third of our employees. Average tenure at this point is, 6.5 years? Mm-hmm. Average stay on new employees as a whole, I think, or as a generation maybe, is about 4 years. So, from a personnel standpoint, we do need to be aware of what's taking place. Others?
Chris, what was the value of the mill last year? Sorry to put you on the spot.
$294. I believe it was $294, and we're at $313, I believe, right now. Is that right, Chris?
Comments? Further questions?
Well, okay, if we're getting close to voting, I want to understand what we're voting on.
At this point, there's not been an offer for an amendment, so we're voting on the budget as presented.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
This is a first and second reading, or,
First reading.
I mean, it goes into second reading, right?
Yeah.
Floor is open for discussion.
I'd like to offer an amendment. Are we ready to do that?
If you'd like.
I would like to make it an amendment, go ahead and put it in form, to ask the administrator to find 2 mills in the existing budget to lower that millage.
Do we need to second it?
Absolutely.
It will require, I'm writing, it will require a second if it's going to go to a vote.
Okay. So moved. Second?
Okay.
One of the two? I don't know.
Yeah.
Mr. Bettis, is your amendment just on face value says, ask the administrator to find $650,000 that's equivalent to 2 mills?
Exactly.
Okay, is that saying that if he does that, then we apply that to the budget for second reading, or is it he just reports back to us?
I think you would bring it on the second reading.
If the motion is to ask for a reduction in 2 mills in the budget, is that, you're asking for the budget to be reduced by 2 mills, correct?
Correct.
If that passes, it would supersede the budget right now as presented.
Okay.
My calculator.
There is an amendment to the 26-27 budget that calls for a reduction of 2 mills. We have a motion and a second in that regard.
Chris, can you tell us what the, can I ask Chris for something?
Mr. Klein, yes.
What is the value of the, sorry, never mind, it's a bad question.
So we have the motion and a second. We will, need to we have a motion and a second on the amendment. We'll need a vote
On the amendment.
on the amendment.
Discussion first.
Any discussion? Yeah.
Yeah, but we'll have to, we've got a motion and a second. Floor will be open for discussion on the amendment. Correct?
Couldn't hear you.
The amendment has a motion and a second.
Now discussion.
We will need discussion prior to a vote on the amendment, correct?
Have a motion?
Just to clarify it, as I said before, um, if I were charged with doing it, I would go to my individual heads and give them a figure or a percentage to find within their individual budgets. In other words, you're letting them prioritize their money.
Others?
Mr. Merriman, from a clarification, we've, the millage discussion, the 111, that applies to virtually just the general fund balance. The other items mostly would be allocated towards specific items. Is that correct? So if I've got 111 mills and we're reducing it to 109, that only applies
The general fund.
to the general fund,
Yes, sir.
where a lot of our labor costs come from,
Well,
and some other
a
things.
lot comes from there, but also with labor, we also we lump everything into the general fund, and then we bill back, and there's also offsetting revenues that pay for a number of our employees as well. So I think it is important to remember that that 68% is 68% if you pack it all into the general fund. However, we have an overall budget of over $90 million, and so we have revenues that come in that cover some of those costs as well. But to answer your question, a millage reduction applies to the general fund.
So we reduce it from, was it 48 million to 40, what does that number pan out to?
Less $668,000.
Yeah.
Chris, I did a little bit of math here. I was hoping you could check it. What would the millage rate be to equal our income from last year?
That's none of it.
Assuming no growth?
Yeah, well, the natural growth of the mill, right? 323, 294.
That does reflect our year-to-date revenue.
No,
What he's saying is if we applied effectively last year's revenue
Yeah,
to this year's budget,
yes. And the difference between the actual
it
natural
would
growth.
be a 4.4% reduction or so between last year and this year, because that's how much growth we saw in the budget. Is that right, Chris? About,
Yeah, that's 8.3%, yeah. Be 100.7.
And now when you say 4.4, are you referring to the overall 91 or just the general?
our overall budget increased.
Sorry.
And the reason I'm asking is because if we adjust the millage, it doesn't necessarily apply to some of these funds. It only applies to certain
Not apply to
aspects of,
restricted
yeah,
funds.
so that's why
Yes.
I want to make sure.
Other questions?
Well, I guess my position, if we do this, I'd want the city administrator just to have that charged and with no restrictions. I mean, that's why we pay him the big bucks to figure out where to find it at. Some places are better than others to find it at. He knows that.
Okay, clarify that.
I think
Well-
what I'm hearing Mr. Lamb say, Mr. Airwood, is that if this passes, the amendment passes, and then subsequently the budget is amended based on this amendment, that I would bring back a new recommended budget, just like I did with this one, with 2 less mills. Therefore, I would go back through and scrub it, removing what we, as administration, would deem appropriate
Right.
for this
Okay, I
council to
understand.
consider.
That's just,
It could be very as easily as a by department haircut, or it could be a couple projects that we just would eliminate.
Gotcha,
Could even be a fund balance transfer.
gotcha.
Mr. Best, philosophically, we're definitely on the same page. I guess I'm curious, is there something about that 2 mills? Is that just making a good faith?
Nothing magic, I'll go 3. 4, if you can spot it.
Well,
2 is, I just don't.
to my
cons-
point earlier, why not all of it? No, I'm just kidding.
The problem is that it stems from this was such a severe jump up in 1 year. And the best we can hope for now is to whittle away at it. That's my opinion.
Sure,
This may or may not be a good year to whittle, but it doesn't hurt to look.
sure, fair enough.
But now, okay. You said to look,
Yes.
okay. And I wholeheartedly agree with that, as we should each and every year. But your amendment is to find it and cut it. That's reduce it. There's no.
That's what I call looking.
Okay, so you look at it, no matter what it is, and then you cut it. That's what you want to do. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Others? Questions? Comments? Discussion? The amendment offered by Mr. Bettis and seconded by Mr. Lander to reduce the budget by 2 mills at the administrator's behest. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Aaronwood,
No.
Mr. Booker,
No.
Mr. Hopper,
No,
Mr. Lander,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Mr. Lamb,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
No. Fails 4-3.
Now we're on to the main motion.
First reading of ordinance 18-2026. We have a motion in that regard.
I think we already did, didn't we?
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the budget for first reading as presented.
Do I hear a second?
Well, we've already got a motion.
Oh, motion is second.
Yeah, already got that there.
It exists.
The-
You
the-
call.
Okay. I have 2 things that I brought up, and I really wasn't, I thought it would be best for second reading that if we put these 2 items forward at that point. But, I mean, if we want to, I can make an amendment. And
I think it is appropriate that if you want to add an amendment to the ordinance as it is right now, would probably be appropriate
Okay,
tonight.
the first amendment would be to increase our stormwater fund by $1. And those dollars would be earmarked for mechanization or whatever kind of upgrades that help us do the job we're supposed to do. The expenditure should save labor hours and do the things that we are to accomplish anyway.
Not sure you want
That's a long amendment.
to, I mean, if you just want to
Well,
get them more money,
no.
give them the discretion, you know?
No, I think because we haven't done planning, or this is my attempt to try to help. And when I said on the way here tonight, I drove by sidewalks and storm drain inlets. The only thing that's really pristine is when you get into downtown. The sidewalks there are no weeds. The storm drain inlets, they're not clogged with debris, or not, they don't have grass growing out of them. In the rest of the parts of the city, we do. And that's not, if we want to be a leader, we need to look like a leader. If we're going to have company coming to town every day, we need to be looking like companies coming to town
So
every day.
you want your dollar earmarked for more labor to do that?
Nope, didn't say more labor. I said more technology that reduces total labor hours, so then you can take the labor hours that you have saved and put them on projects that aren't being either done at all, or they're not being done on a consistent basis. So if you've got, let's take the sidewalk that you and I talked about down there in front of
Well,
Sutton Farms.
question, first we gotta get the motion straight and get a second.
Well, I'm trying to do that. So you want to help me with it, and that'd be fine.
Well, is this gotta be shorter, or he can't write it all down?
All right, yeah, okay, so
I understand what you're asking for.
Just gotta be, we just gotta get something we can.
we do need additional help on this in terms of clarification, because you're just saying $1.
Yep.
Is this,
So $1 is going to generate approximately 52,000 bucks.
but
Yes,
it'll
yes.
also increase for new homes by $1 and for businesses by fee? We do businesses by fee, do we not? Mr. Grant, can you help us on this, please, sir?
No, this is, the $1, regardless of how it is, I understand how the stormwater fee is calculated. But if you increase the stormwater fee by $1 on every tax notice, whether it's residential, commercial, or industrial, generates the $52,000 and some change.
Oh, I think I see what the mayor's question is. There's a little bit of calculation has to go.
Well, the
with that.
calculation that I think the mayor's referring to is is it the stormwater unit or the impervious unit? The ERU, that's it.
But the reason we've only got 16,000 residents and 3,000 businesses. That only generates 20,000.
Some of the properties are more than one ERU.
Commercial.
Yes, sir. So it would go up per ERU. So some of the commercial properties would have.
That's what I
would
mean.
go up $6.
So
The
that's-
fee is
how
the
you-
fee is gonna go up.
Yeah.
Okay,
$1 per unit.
okay, okay. Sure.
So a business that's paying, what's the business pay, $30? What's
It's
30
$30.
units?
An ERU is $30. So if you've got, you're a larger property and you've got 10 ERUs. Yes,
Yeah. So it'll be much higher on the commercial businesses than it is a $1 fee on a house.
Yes, it always is.
Okay, so that's how we come up with $52,000?
Yes.
We in discussion right now, or?
We're still in discussion, yeah.
Well, we don't have a second, so.
We don't have a second. Okay.
Try.
So you want to increase the stormwater fee by $1 per residence and
Per ERU.
per
For
ERU.
ERU.
PRU.
Yes.
Comes as a motion from Mr. Arrowood. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Booker seconds. Floor is open for discussion.
I'll ask, so the areas that you're talking about that need work, do we know that they are our infrastructure, our gutters, drains, et cetera?
Well, in my opinion, we already do work on DOT properties, just because if we want it done, it's got to be done. From plowing snow to just cleaning off how bridges collect all the silt and debris, we do that. We try to run the sweeper truck all the way down 14 and back, because it just, and most of that is out of the city. But our residents don't make the distinction. They say it's Greer.
Yeah.
And if it's looking bad coming in, it reflects on our city. This is not the best method to do it. But it's the only method I have at this point. But yes, it would allow us, it should, I think, allow us to be able to do certain things all the time that we need to be doing.
Have you spoken with administration or staff to identify we would spend $53,000 on XYZ that's going
Yes,
to help us?
I have, over the last couple of years, talked to administration, staff, general conversations with council. The $1, it was just let's just see. And because I know that in my studies of, okay, what can you get? There's a lot of things out there that you can get to add to our equipment, our platform, whatever it might be. So we are running a sweeper truck every day. So we don't have sidewalks that look like a footpath because grass is growing in on both sides. And the only reason it's not in the middle is because people walk there. That's the purpose behind the whole thing.
Fully automated street sweeper. I just looked it up. It's 450 grand.
Yeah, no, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about implements that we can add to existing platforms.
Oh, no, I'm just giving you a
Yeah,
good
yeah,
final,
no,
a good
no, and
final
we
solution.
have a street sweeper. All I'm trying to do is free up labor hours.
That's what I'm
So
giving
this,
you.
does it more efficiently so we don't need to add any additional
Employees?
employees?
No,
You just hook it up to our street sweeper right now?
no. Street sweep, I don't want to be specific because I don't want to be seen as a micromanager, but I'm just going down this rabbit hole. We have a piece of equipment that we can attach it's basically a edger on steroids, and it has a blower that goes along with it, and you probably can get into that for about $5,000. But then what that does, you spend $5,000, right? Now, if we send somebody out to do just maintain a mile of sidewalks, right? So we're going to send a truck and 3 people, and it's probably going to take 8 hours. Where this one implement can do it in a matter of minutes with one person. You may have to have somebody tailing along, but you go from looking at your productivity being feet to miles.
Let me understand. So edge and sidewalks is stormwater?
Yes, because part of the sidewalks and I guess not the weeds or the debris, whatever, it affects the way the stormwater runs. So that's why I chose to go that route with
That
it.
covers 2 or 3 birds with one stone, I mean.
Yeah.
I think where I'm getting hung up on this, Mr. Arrowwood, I'd very much understand and appreciate and agree with with the point you're making. I think my trouble is while in this year for first reading, I'm not comfortable supporting what feels like an arbitrary 2 mil reduction. This would represent, in essence, a tax increase as well, rather than a tax decrease. And I don't think I'm not personally comfortable with that
I
either.
respect that. I understand that because whether you call it a fee or a tax, it's, comes out of the same pocketbook of the residents.
And you
yes.
make a good point, like it's $1, but at the same time, I think a lot of what we're talking about is philosophical here, and philosophically, it's $1 more we're taking from our residents.
Whatever that gizmo is, it looks like it'd be easier to just put it in the lease purchase contract.
That's a possibility. I mean, I understand all of that.
Mr. Airwood's amendment is to increase the stormwater fee by $1 per residence and appropriately by ERU as well, too. Questions?
Now, in your amendment, does our staff have the flexibility to figure out what this
Yes,
efficiency is? Okay.
That's exactly right. Because I believe that our staff is more than capable of doing that. And that goes back to a bigger issue about employment. We can talk about that as, at a later time. But yeah, I think that we have staff that can figure that out.
I think it's an interesting question in light of the fact that we're relying on technology to take care of our sidewalks, but there has been some implication that it's not worthy if it's the police department or fire department using the technology.
Well, here's my response to that, is that let's just take the technology, the data gathering stuff. How does that save labor hours? That's the question I have. And then
I'll give you a pretty good example that we saw when we were in Spartanburg. They identified a crime that took place in a park and had him arrested before he got to the next stoplight.
yeah, I understand that. However, we are not Spartanburg. They have a whole different, their crime rate is totally different. And it may be necessary, but my point is, we haven't been shown that it's necessary. Our crime rate basically stays the same. That's, I mean, that's I guess I'm a show me kind of person. How does spending another $400,000 or $500,000 on these things that supposedly help? Well, how does it help? How does it increase our person-to-person contact with people who've had a crime? How does it help us do anything and the only thing I can see is it's going to be adding more and more dollars to our budget, because we know that some of this technology has to be upgraded. And that's why we're at this point anyway. We're at the end of a contract and upgrading the technology. But I can't see how it might. But we haven't been shown that.
I don't intend to troll or be argumentative, but wouldn't the very same argument be made about whatever equipment you're talking about to trim, like upgrading that technology? I mean, any technology or automation or whatever.
Yes, but you can look, I can't see what you're trying to show me.
It's a street Roomba, basically.
It's a street Roomba.
A street vacuum cleaner.
No personnel needed.
That's
Runs
exactly right.
24/7.
That's exactly right. But
let's-
anyway,
Okay, all right.
but what I'm saying, Mayor and Mr. Hopper, is that, yes, you will have to maintain that piece of equipment. But when it goes and it frees up labor hours, because if you look, just like I said, if it takes 3 personnel to go out to trim a sidewalk, and it's a mile, let's use that, well, we probably, it's going to be an entire day with a piece of equipment. And I'm not saying go buy it. I'm just saying you need to look for things like this that you increase that 8 hours from the productivity from linear feet to linear miles. So therefore, even the person, once they're done, they can go on and do something else. The other parts of what would have been their crew can be doing something else. It's the same thing with, we can put lawnmowers out here that takes one person. to operate. You bring them out, you unload them, that person is there while they're working, picking up trash, maybe doing a little, and then they load themselves back. You don't have people riding on them. And all that technology is there now. I mean, it's not like this is new and exciting stuff. It's there. It's all out there.
All right, Mr. Airwood's made has asked for an amendment, and Mr. Booker seconded to increase the stormwater fee by $1 a residence and $1 per ERU. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I will say, considering your amendment, I am very interested to see what efficiency looks like. I know when our staff got up here to speak about the work they're doing, and one of the things he mentioned was if he had more staff or, he could, tackle more things. The only hesitation I have is really would like to hear a little more background to see from an implementation standpoint what it would look like. So, I mean, yeah, maybe not this budget year, but future budget years, we could have that discussion.
Gotcha.
Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Airwood,
Yes.
Mr. Booker,
No.
Mr. Hopper,
No.
Mr. Lander,
No.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Mr. Lamb,
No.
Mayor Danner.
No.
My next amendment.
All right.
No, it has to do with this technology that we're wanting to purchase that gathers data. And if I had my druthers, we would just take those dollars and apply them elsewhere. But if we don't want to do that yet, we could freeze that spending until council has a much larger discussion about data that we're gathering from folks, how that data is going to be handled. Are we going to sell it? Are we going to, what are we going to do with it?
What are those dollars? Do we know what the dollars
Just
are?
PD's like $500,000, right?
PD's, I believe the existing contract, which you can't go by, but by just a benchmark, I think it was a $580, $540 annual. I'm looking, what was it, Chris, 540, 580 for that Axon?
Black cameras, I believe he's talking about, is a separate line item, separate item than the.
Well, let's just go with the Axon. So the Axon, I understand what you're saying. The Flock is something different. But the Axon, the proposed contract has it at $930,000, is that right? Looking at what it was?
Yes.
Okay, and then the previous one was 540, 580, I think 580 previously. But the point is that that contract is over because they're phasing out the 7 series of the tasers. We have to upgrade to the 10s. There's some things that are going to have to change, so that number will change.
I'm not saying that we don't need to upgrade this stuff.
And what I'm telling you is just to answer Mr. Lander's question is right now, that additional, what we know is we will have a $930,000 a year annual, but it was for everything we had before plus the other stuff.
Just from my conversations with Jay, I don't think he's talking about that. He's talking about the cell phone data.
Well,
Wait, if it's the
all
Placer AI,
It's all the data collection, because I think Jim answered the question about the facial recognition software. It is a philosophical question. There's two things at play in rolling around in my mind. Is that one, we haven't been shown as this great need that we have for this data collection. And then we haven't been shown, well, what happens next year and then the next. And I know that that Matt or the police chief has spoken about having this room that's live data being fed from our cameras and from cameras that I think maybe other businesses have allowed us to use, and it feeds this data in there. And in my mind, I'm thinking, that's just the NSA watching us. And if we have an issue where if we have something going on that's criminal at a rate that this is going to help, then I need to know that. But, I got it that you can buy this data, but even when, it's not about buying it from somebody, it's about what we're going to do with it. Are we going to resell it? Because it will have value. I mean, that's that's how that works. Are we going to keep it? And how are we going to protect it? And what are we going to do if somebody hacks our system and gets the data that we have collected? And
Mr. Mayor, I'd ask for you rule that this is not germane to the budget. I know what you're trying to say, Jay, but you got to say it something we can act on.
Well, is this system, if we buy this system, who is the actual data collector? It wouldn't be us, would it? We wouldn't have that
Correct.
capability.
Yeah.
This Axon is probably the data collector also. right?
Mr. Bettis, yeah, so we are talking about a number of things to Mr. Lander's point. So, and I think that this question came up not only in the police department's presentation on the 14th, but it also came up on the 21st when we discussed Parks, Recreation, and Tourism, specific to the Placer AI, where we're collecting cell phone data to see where they've been geolocated and where they're coming from, et cetera. So the data exists in a number of different places. And so we're talking about different policies, for lack of a better term, on how that data would be used from a department to department standpoint. And obviously, the PD can speak much more intelligently about how they intend to use any data that was received through flock cameras, license plate readers, et cetera, just as Parks, Recreation, and Tourism could talk about how they would use any data collected through Placer AI. Or, even with, in IT, having an AI chatbot on our website to help navigate for folks. There's varying levels of data that's collected and how that data is used. So to Mr. Arrowood, to your point, if your concern is having council fully understand how that data would be used, there is nothing precluding council from passing the budget with the items included. However, we won't execute any contracts until council has an opportunity to ask these questions.
And that's what I was saying, that we can freeze those funds until council has had a thorough discussion and put together some kind of policy with the help of staff, what we're going to do with this information and how far is it going to go. I mean, who knows tomorrow what's going to be out there where we can grab this information. We talk about drones, and I gave you the example today of how somebody misused one locally and was, looking at things he shouldn't have been looking at. Wasn't any of us.
Are you making a motion to
I'm making a motion.
pass the budget as it is, but hold those funds aside until further discussion?
Yes, and with all technology. With
But our
all-
contract is expired.
No.
What is the status of the contract? When does the Axon contract expire?
The tasers expire now.
2 years.
We have to,
For the body worn cameras and then the in-car technology, et cetera.
With all due respect, this should have been brought forward long before budget. I mean, if our tasers are out of date, or whatever, this should, gathering information, and I don't have an issue with the tasers. I don't have, issues with body cameras. We have been a leader in body cameras. And I think and in-car cameras and stuff like that. The rub comes for me is collecting this data. That's, do we want to be like China and have 1 billion cameras watching us? And I know that's going to generate some giggles, but, there's nothing there now that says, well, next year we're going to spend $1 million on cameras and put them all around.
All right, so your motion is what, so we can gather a second?
Okay, let's just, the motion I was going to make is that in the departments that want to purchase this technology used for data gathering needs to be frozen until council has had a chance to discuss what we believe should be done with this data.
Mr. Airwood, just for clarification's sake, we capture all types of data
I
from
understand.
department to department, everything from EINs with businesses to social security numbers with our employees. There's a number of things that we have to, we capture. That can be broadly construed by staff as every bit of technology that captures any type of data would be frozen in this budget without council's consideration. And I think if we're going to go that route, I would certainly like some clarification on what that looks like.
Well, we're talking about this budget. We're not talking.
We are talking about this
what
budget.
we're doing.
We are talking about this budget, but I mean, I think every bit of technology, I mean, even with some implementation from software and finance, there's a number of things that would be proprietary that could be construed as personal data or some sort of private data that.
Well, so be it. I mean,
Okay.
that's.
So you gotta freeze the
I
whole
think,
budget?
I think Mr. Merriman's I think Mr. Merriman's asking you to be specific about which data.
Well,
You're talking about third party.
no, we're.
Data gathering.
Well, we have facial recognition software, so that's us gathering that.
Sure.
We gather the information on license plate readers. We have that. Well, that's two big things. That's what caught my attention about all of this, is that where does it end? And I know the police chief would love to have that room with live cameras from all over the community. That's just not a place that I want to live. I don't want Big Brother looking over my shoulder.
Well, Mr. Airwood, I would agree with you. I would be in favor if council, not, in the future, because it would take a while to be developed, some kind of data retention program or whatever y'all.
Policy.
I do think, Mr. Lamb, a holistic approach to how we handle data might be helpful from an education perspective for council, if that would help. I think what's being presented in this budget, specific to Axon, specific to Placer AI, specific to chatbots on the city's website that helps navigate, and all points in between, have value to the city from an operational and effectiveness and expediency perspective, and that's how it made it through the budget process through administration. This is our recommended budget because of best management practices. I think with Axon in particular, over the 5-year period of time, by making this change, we get more for our dollar and will actually save money in the long run. So this is all part and parcel to those recommendations.
Your arguments are correct, but it's never been told to council how this, because what we hear from the PD, and it's not just now, we've heard it for many years, is we don't have enough staff. Okay, so now we're going to spend an additional money. Let's grab a number, $300,000. It's going to be in addition to what we've already been spending, because, and all we're talking about is that one contract, right? Well, nobody has shown me, if we've got these 2 drones sitting on a launch pad, how that's going to save dollars by adding. Nobody has shown me how that provides either a replacement for actual manpower, how it will not require us to add more and more people as we move down the road, and what is the basic need for it right now anyway? We hired a recruiter, but yet we still have an issue with we can't fill spots in the PD. I'll say this one other time. This is my final chance to try to get some planning in place. We haven't we are being asked to approve things almost on an immediate basis. We just heard that the contract, we've got to have this because this is expired and this is going to expire, and kind of puts you on the hot seat. That's not the way that we are efficient and we provide the best service.
Your motion is in the departments that collect data, funds would be frozen regarding the collection of that data?
Yeah. Talking about the dollars that will be spent out of this budget, not things that are already in existence.
Non-actionable motion. They can't do that.
Freeze the money.
Are we going to say council approves or council is updated?
That ain't what he said.
Well, I think council needs to have a discussion about this data collection and what do we do with it? How far is it going to go?
What unfreezes the money?
What's the criteria to unfreeze?
To unfreeze is once that council's had a chance to look over everything, and are we good with it? What is
So
the
you're
benefit?
saying
Are we-
approve it?
Yes.
Mr. Merriman, do you think we could, during the next reading, have a presentation of these various data collection pieces and how they use them, how we use them, where they get stored, that kind of thing?
I think we could pull some together. I do believe that Mr. Arrow would preface the whole discussion with that this is a philosophical discussion. And I don't know that anything we provide will alleviate philosophical concerns. Now, that's speculative on my part, and I'll be glad to provide something that might articulate that. But from a budgetary perspective, we're making the recommendation from a dollars and cents standpoint. What we've put into this budget has been vetted. We batted this around philosophically from a staff perspective, and we are not doing anything above and beyond what is not already a best management practice by, I dare say, 75% of cities of our size nationwide. So that's why we feel comfortable with this analysis. I do think it would be a little bit of a challenge to figure out what level of sensitivity this council may have on what exactly would be data that needs to be protected. I can assure you that all data that we do take in, we protect through our own internal policies that would be subject to, the new technology would be subject to those very same policies.
Well, I see a lot of value in, Ann's department uses Placer. I see the value in the police having access to that data, but I also understand, Jay's concern of that data escaping somehow, and that's why we have the best of the best right there.
Let's be clear, too, that we're talking about police departments collecting data in an environment where most, if not all, protected in some regard, is available to the public anyway.
Yes.
Okay.
You can go buy it on Google right now.
But is that the best way that we spend our dollars? We're talking about best management practices.
I can walk in the police department right now and ask for the records on somebody's arrest.
Sure,
and
that,
make a
no. I understand all of that. But there's two parts to this. One, philosophical, but two, we haven't been shown this makes us efficient. In my point, or my view, is that it's great if we need it. It's kind of a what if kind of deal.
I took your word that machine was efficient. I've never seen one work.
Well, okay.
Police use drones constantly to find lost people, to find
suspects in fields, woods.
No, I know
The
that.
drones work pretty good.
All right, here we go. Mr. Airwood's offered an amendment. That reads, in the departments that collect data, funds will be frozen in the 2026, 2027 budget until council approves the use of the money. Is that your
Nope.
understanding?
No, that's, I was talking about the dollars that's been allocated or put forth in this budget to be frozen, that we don't make those expenditures.
That's the 2026,
Don't.
2027 budget.
Right.
You want them pulled out?
No, it's
Okay.
freeze it.
That's what he said.
Until we have a written policy governing
It-
that activity, what?
I
Said
think,
until council approves
yes.
the funding.
Yes.
In the departments that collect data, funds that would be frozen in the, excuse me, let me start over. In the departments that collect data, funds would be frozen in the 2026, 2027 budget until council approves the use of the funds.
Okay.
Is that new funds or all funds?
New funds.
You better put.
That ain't what you said.
Yeah, you better put new in there because that,
Well, he's got it in
That's
there
pretty
about the
broad.
budget.
Yeah, that just froze.
yeah, but continuing money for old data.
People
or-
come pay their fines.
Is in this budget also.
I think you need to be specific on which data you want to freeze.
Oh, that's true.
The amendment reads, in the departments that collect data, funds will be frozen in 26, 27 budget until council approves the use of the funds. Mr. Airwood makes the motion. To hear a second.
I'll second that.
Floor is open for discussion.
As written, the amendment is, I don't know how they would survive. And couldn't be signing up somebody to play soccer without,
We're not gonna wait 3 months to figure this out.
well, I mean, the way it's written, they can't come pay fines.
It's not gonna stop what they're doing now.
That's not what we said there.
Yeah, it's new money.
It doesn't say that.
You should say that.
That's not what the motion was.
What's the budget in 26, 27, so
I
that's
would-
new
But
dollars.
that includes
Specifically,
Everybody's
money
sitting
for
there.
old stuff too.
I think we're just
That's
taking.
what I was
to a
trying to
vote.
tell you.
I don't know how else to word it, except that I believe that, well, I've already made my points. If it's new technology or adding to the technology where we're gathering data.
Well, maybe can we name the two specific concerns where it's the Placer subscription in Parks and Recreation, and it's the technology package, the new technology package in PD? Are there any other?
Well, IT
Program
does.
IT?
Yeah, I guess that's where it's coming from, the facial recognition.
Is that part of the PD package, the new facial recognition or whatever? No? Okay, name the three.
IT. No, that came from IT, right? The facial recognition?
And we don't have any,
Yes.
What I mentioned in the workshop was that these cameras have the ability to do AI searches that includes license plate recognition. It could also include facial recognition, clothing that's being worn. If someone walks into a specific area of, like, for example, the 5th floor on the parking deck, if a car drives up there, this AI technology can alert dispatch to say, there's a car there in an area that should normally be vacant. So it's part of a larger package, not one specific piece that we can be.
Yeah, and I understand, but, Jim just said it could be part of a larger package, so where does that end? That's the whole thing. And it hasn't been shown to me that this is needed, that kind
All
of
right.
thing.
I think then we've got the right motion. In the departments that collect data, Funds will be frozen in the 2026, 27 budget until council approves the use of the funds. Seconded by Mr. Bettis. Any further discussion? Questions or comments? Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Mr. Booker,
No.
Mr. Hopper,
No.
Mr. Lander,
No.
Mr. Bettis,
No.
Mr. Lamb,
No.
Mayor Danner.
No.
Aren't you glad we're not talking about housing tonight?
Let's put that back on.
We have a motion and a second in regards to the City of Greer budget ordinance fiscal year 2026 and 2027.
Move to previous question, Mr. Mayor.
1 mil. An amendment to do that.
You might want to ask the question. But do we have, let's see, we have a
I think we get the same reaction.
We have a motion and a second on the budget.
motion, let's see,
4 no's will still be.
motion by, let's see, that was the amendment.
The 3 yeses will be the same.
When you opened it up, we got a motion and a second.
We've got a motion and a second on first reading of ordinance number 18-2026, and that was made by,
First was by Mr. Arrowood, second was Mr. Lamb.
I forgot, but hey.
I'd like to make one more motion.
okay,
I'd like to ask the city administrator to find savings for 1 mil reduction in taxes.
We may have to have a break.
That's the last ask.
Could you repeat that, please? I couldn't hear you.
A 1 mil reduction. $323,000.
Mr. Lander wishes to make an amendment to the budget that it be reduced by 1 mil at the discretion of the administrator.
Yes, sir.
I'll second.
I don't think any discussions needed.
I mean,
Up on
yeah,
that soapbox.
No,
we all know what we want to say on that.
Mr. Lander makes a motion, seconded by Mr. Bettis, that at the discretion of the administrator, the amendment would be to reduce the current budget by 1 mil. Floor is open for discussion.
How'd you come with 1 mil?
if I can't get 2, I'm not gonna ask for 3.
Good answer.
Is it just philosophical?
Yeah, I think
Want
it's,
to get
I think it's,
inch in that direction?
I think every single year we should be inching in that direction.
Others? Comments? Questions? Further discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Duncan,
Mr. Arrowood,
This is on the amendment, correct?
on the amendment, 1 mil reduction at the discretion of the administrator.
No.
Mr. Booker,
No.
Mr. Hopper,
No.
Mr. Lander,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Mr. Lamb,
Yes, to support my buddy.
Mayor Danner.
No. Fails.
Yeah, it looks that way,
First reading of ordinance number 18-2026, the City of Greer Budget Ordinance Fiscal Year 2026-27. An ordinance relating to the fiscal affairs of the City of Greer, South Carolina, making appropriations, therefore levying taxes, and to provide for an effective date. Mr. Airwood and seconded by Mr. Lamb. Floor is open for discussion. Questions? Comments? Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Mr. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Hopper,
Yes.
Mr. Lander,
No.
Mr. Bettis,
No.
Mr. Lamb,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. First reading passes. We have no items listed for executive session. Stand adjourned.